Hello, everybody. This is Ronnie J. Coupe, aka Matthew, and I decided before this month ends, hopefully this will go up before February, that we should talk about our favorite games of 2017. So, I have everybody else here, well, most people.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. Oh yeah, and I'm playing one of those games.
Okay, that's enough.
Stop it. This is going to be hell to edit now.
Oh, I thought that sounded so much better. Sorry. Okay, go ahead.
So almost all of us are here. Unfortunately, Icky and Jordy could not join us, but they are here in spirit. They're not dead. Just mind you, they're not dead. They just couldn't join us.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can just pretend that they're here and just yapping and clamoring and all that crap.
Yeah, just imagine Jordy talking about Bendy for 2 hours, and
Exactly.
Even though that was released in 2016.
Shut up.
And updates.
Anyway,
but yes, we're here to talk about games we liked. Games, because, God, 2017 was a huge year.
Yeah.
Oh, without a doubt.
Honestly, it made up for the massive drought that 2016 provided.
Yep.
Yeah.
So 2017, I think a lot of us can agree, was one of the best years in gaming.
Agreed.
Yeah, I think so.
Since I would say 2007,
I think so many great releases. It reminded people why we love being Nintendo fans.
Yep.
Oh yeah,
Among others.
Yeah, no. Let's just get this out of the way. The Nintendo Switch won this year.
Yes, it
Oh,
did.
without
Definitely.
a doubt, yes.
It massacred, and, well, it's still going on to this day.
Yeah.
Yep.
But,
Actually,
but that's not to say that Nintendo dominated.
I would say it would.
Because there were other games. Well, we'll not say the dominant period. Like there are the games that sprouted up from other places, which is my attempt to segue into, some of the. Okay, so we're gonna save all our big top fives for later.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But for now, we just want.
We're each going to go over our top fives and some honorable mentions at the end of this. What we're going to start out with is games that a minority of us played. So like one or two of us have played. And then later on, we're going to go into majority games that all of us can talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're just gonna
at least the majority of us.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're just gonna share a
It's
lot
majority
of our
games.
thoughts. Yeah, we're gonna share a lot of our thoughts because this is a big year. So buckle up, get some popcorn, and then throw it out because I hate popcorn and dries up my throat and clings to my teeth like something fierce. Get some chips.
Yeah, chips.
Chaps.
I think halfway through this, I might actually just go grab my giant box of Cheez-Its for
God,
this.
Thank
I love that. So anyway, sit tight and get ready to hear.
Sit
people,
back, relax, and enjoy the show.
Get ready to hear some strangers you don't care about's opinions.
Exactly.
Get ready to hear us nerd out.
So,
Yep.
even though we do have a list here, I believe the person who should start is James. How about you talk about some minority games for you?
Wait, me? Why me? I thought we were going to start off with your game.
Because you're the host.
No,
of the whole channel.
I'm the
Yeah,
host.
you're the host of the channel.
I'm the host of this video, but you're the person who owns the channel. I mean, we don't call it James Man Extreme and Friends. No, it's called James Man Extreme.
Well, that's
You're
that's
the
how
one
it
of-
started.
Oh, I backed it to Waba.
Well, all right. If you're going to put me on the spot that badly, I'm going to put Gui on the spot too. Because the first game
I
I'll
was
talk
about to
about
say.
is
Why Gui?
because the first game I'm going to talk about is Wonderboy, the Dragon's Trap.
Oh boy.
I was about to say. And I was about to say
Okay.
it's also because
Wonderful.
you two... Yeah, you go ahead.
All right, thank you very much. Anyway, Wonderboy, the Dragon's Trap. This one came as a massive surprise to me way back when it was announced last year, I think. It had a very interesting little 2D art style, and and in a way you could also seamlessly transform it back to the original 80s/90s style, which is kind of dated, but also still kind of memorable. And, I mean, from what I played, I think the developers of Lizard Cube did an amazing job with it.
I think they did. Like the art style just really spoke to me as an animation lover, and just a lover of traditional animation. Like that was the first thing that drew me to it, was just how fluid and stylized everything was. It just had this like kind of sarcastic humorous look to it.
Yeah, lest we forget those amazing quips from the nurse.
Yeah.
Only downside I will say with the game is that I think it follows the original game a little too well, because there are a few cases where I think some of its design philosophy has aged a bit to a point where it does feel a little, what's the word, archaic?
Yeah, to a fault.
Okay.
Yeah, not to say it completely destroys the experience. I just think that we've come a long way since the original Dragon's Trap, and well, I mean, I appreciate that they went to such great lengths to pretty much follow it to a T, makes a few improvements, but I do think it could have done a little more than that, like just completely rebuild it from the ground up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But not for nothing, the ability to jump between classic and modern, when I saw from that look at it, the platforming seems cool. It's like it almost like besides Castlevania, would you argue it's one of the first Metroidvanias?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
You do know that Castlevania itself was never a Metroidvania, right?
I know.
It started Metroidvania with
Symphony of the Night.
Symphony of the Night, yeah.
Symphony of the Night.
Yeah, but that's still what it's called, the genre.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But
the one example that is like the biggest fault of its archaic design is when if you want to 100% the game, get ready to pull your hair out, because there's a level for the lizard man form that I still can't get. I've tried many times. I haven't even counted, and it feels like I've been attempting it 100 times and I still can't get it, because you just have to see it. I cannot explain it.
See it to believe it.
I was like screaming until I was hoarse.
Ouch.
Oh. Well, in any case, that's really just the post-game stuff she's talking about. But otherwise, I mean, aside from the occasional really bad spike or whatever, it's still a very well-made game. And if anyone hasn't tried it out already, it's available on pretty much anything, including the Switch. In fact, it's sold the best on the Switch, and I would recommend getting that version because it plays very well on there.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, aside from the end game bullshit that you would have to endure if you really want to 100% it, it's still fair. The rest of it is fair.
Okay. Right. The rest of it is fair, and well, I think that's really the best way we can say it. And hey, nothing else, during the end game, you could also play as the Wonderboy himself. Or herself, depending on if you want to choose each other gender. Not that it really matters much.
Yeah.
But with that said, I think that's all we have to say about Wonderboy the Dragon's Trap. Now, as Matt already put me and Gui on the spot, I'm going to put Matt on the spot. Talk about your one favorite game that we had to put in the minority.
Well, he has two.
Actually, I'll talk about one of them first. I'm going to talk about Xenoblade 2 first.
Okay.
Okay, fine.
So, that game was announced back when the Switch was announced. Well, kind of. When they had that huge Switch showcase back last January.
That was a treat.
They showed off this game. A lot of people didn't know what it was at first, but then a lot of people believed it was, from the look of it a bit, not from the art style, but from everything else, it looked like a Xenoblade game, and then at the end they revealed it's Xenoblade Chronicles 2. Now, kind of like Arlo, I didn't think this game was going to come out this year. Xenoblade is a huge RPG series, easily around 120 hours or more to play each game. Long series. But the thing about Xenoblade 2 is that I'm just amazed that it actually did come out in 2017. I was amazed.
Nintendo certainly played us for fools.
Yeah, like all these games that they announced, a lot of people are going like, God, barely any of those are going to come out this year. And out of all of them, I think the only one that didn't come out in 2017, like the only big game that was announced was Shin Megami Tensei 5. Like that was the only big game they announced that didn't come out in 2017.
Well, it also helped. It didn't help either that the Shin Megami Tensei trailer they showed during the presentation was a teaser to its purest form.
True. Well, no, because the Fire Emblem Warriors was a teaser. That's a teaser.
That's a good point.
Yeah, that was just a teaser.
But I thought, but wait a minute, didn't they announce that first in a Nintendo Direct?
No, they didn't.
I was pretty sure they did, alongside a couple other Fire Emblem.
No, they didn't.
Whatever.
No, they didn't.
You may be thinking of that weird like cross game or whatever with Fire Emblem characters.
No, you're thinking of the mobile. I think I don't know, but
anyway.
All right, so yeah, Xenoblade 2, great game. Basically, it is all right. a lot of people are wondering why it wasn't named Xenoblade 3, since a lot of people technically think that Xenoblade Chronicles X is 2. However, X is more of a spiritual successor. In fact, it's more of a Xenogears game than a Xenoblade. It has the gameplay of Xenoblade, but doesn't feel like Xenoblade. Like, the style doesn't feel like Xenoblade. Xenoblade 2 definitely feels like a more of a deserved sequel than Xenoblade X. In fact, Xenoblade 2, not going to spoil how, but despite the fact that this is based in a different world and has a different cast, this is a legitimate sequel to the first game.
Okay.
There are things in the game that actually do connect it to the first game. And I love that. But yeah, the combat is just as fun and deep as it was. The characters are all really good. I love all the characters, especially Nia. And I don't give a fuck what you guys say about the character designs. I like them. All right.
I will
The
say
character
I will.
design is not the problem. It's their posture.
Okay, no, that was one character. I'm pointing it out. That was one character. That is one character, and even then, they're not even a main character.
I will say though, I do think it is kind of funny that for this game they pretty much just said, screw it, let's just commission all of these artists and have designs for them that some of them don't even they don't quite mesh that well compared to others. Tell me the Nomura characters don't stick the fuck out.
Yeah, no, okay, the interesting thing is that most of the characters are designed by different people. All the protagonists, main characters, are designed by, I forgot her name. I'll put her name up on the screen here. Okay. But she does the main designs, whereas all the villains are designed by Tetsuya Nomura. And it is really jarring, because they don't try to make these styles look similar. No, they clash. The styles are very, very different.
Yeah.
So it looks like you're watching cutscenes from two different games. Hell, they even got the Fire Emblem artist in there, the more recent one, Sugida. But even then, the game is still a lot of fun. The reason why it's on my list is because it is a great game. It is deep, it is complex, it has great characters and great character moments, even if there is one moment in the game that kind of ruined the main character for me. The main character being Rex. Not Pyra, Rex. But even though, it's still a great game. And yeah, if you love Xenoblade 1, definitely give Xenoblade 2 a go. But play Xenoblade 1 first.
If you're willing to put up with all those hours of gameplay.
Hey, the longer the game, usually the more you get out of it. So
yeah, unless it's padded out for the wrong reasons. But I assume from Xenoblade that's not really the case.
Alrighty.
No, it's not.
Okay.
There's just
I will say one more thing before we move on to our next game. Say what you will about Rex, I think his outfit looks much better on Link.
I still need to see that.
On
It's
that,
cool.
yeah, you can unlock Rex's costume in Breath of the Wild. I think it was like a free update or something.
Yep, it's available at all.
It
You
was.
just have to find red comments by places.
Yeah,
That'll be.
it was a free update about a month befue Xenoblade 2 came out.
I'll
Anyway,
try- yeah, you can look at it later.
On that note, since Matt's already given out his thoughts, and Gui and I already gave out our thoughts. Logan, why don't you go ahead?
Okay, what can we talk about first? I have a couple. I think the one I'll talk about first is Little Nightmares.
Oh,
So-
Little Nightmares,
Yeah.
the one that Namco
Tarsier
published.
Studios. I think it was Tarsier
Right.
Studios or whatever. I think it's how it's pronounced. I don't
by
know.
the way, while you're talking about this, I'm going to go grab some food. So,
Oh,
Okay, because this
because
is
this is going to be a fucking long video.
Yeah, get ready. Anywho,
Yeah, just on a side note, I didn't really have anything to say.
you'll
I'll be
have
right back.
some things to talk about later, I'm sure. Once we pass the minority stuff, but trust me, there's some games you'll have to
I
talk
think I
about.
have
as well.
one game that's in the minority, but but obviously I'll wait till you're finished.
Anyway, Little Nightmares.
Anyway,
Little Nightmares was made by Tarsier Studios, I believe, and Tarsier Studios, if I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, they're the ones who are responsible for creating the PSP version of Little Big Planet. I think they had a hand in Little Big Planet 3, I think.
I
Yeah,
wouldn't be
that's right.
surprised.
That's right.
And basically, they took Little Big Planet 3 physics and applied it to a horror game.
Oh, God.
In which you control a girl named Six, I think her name is.
Yeah.
Who, as she travels about a floating restaurant known as the Maw, in which the rich and whatever get to feed a particularly gruesome desire of theirs. More on that if you actually play the game. From an atmospheric standpoint, I think this game does a very good job. It really builds on the idea of you being a tiny little creature in a giant world.
Yeah, it's something else from what I've played.
Monsters that literally tower over you, the sounds they make, the music, it's very great at setting that tone. There's not a lot of jump scares all the time, but yeah, like especially towards the end, like there are some it's a very haunting game, I guess I could call it that.
Yeah, like its atmosphere is like really oppressive, and you gotta find your way through it and out of it.
Yep. And meanwhile, trying to keep yourself from becoming a monster yourself. I will say this: I think overseas, and either it's called as overseas or it was a scrap title. I liked this one other title for the game called Hunger or something like that.
That's what it was originally named. But then they tried it out in like they tried to see how people would search for it.
Welcome back.
Hi. They tried to see how people would search for it. Like, if you type in Hunger Game, you're just going to get the Hunger Games series. So that's
right.
That's why they changed it.
Which is unfortunate because I think Hunger is a much better title revealing of like the themes and whatnot. Because Little Nightmares, originally I was misled. I thought it was going to be something cool where like you were going into like different nightmares and stuff, but that's not the case. It is very much in one world, one link. I still need to play more of the DLC because that I think they uploaded the last DLC lately. But anyway. As it stands, I feel like the game's a little short in areas, but what is there is very good. I would love to see what they could do with maybe a sequel or another game set with this. Basically, I do think they proved themselves as a very competent studio to make independent projects and not just porting other people's games for them and stuff. I would almost go as far as to say that it's a better. Part of me would almost go as far as say I think it's a better Limbo than Inside is at times. But Inside is still a very good game in its own right. But that's not part of this. That's not part of this.
That is a good game.
That was the year before. But yeah, I think if you're a fan of games like Inside or Limbo, I think you'd enjoy Little Nightmares.
Yeah, I would say so as well. It's got that right blend of horror, but without feeling forced.
Yeah.
Right. And that's it for me.
Alrighty then. I guess on that note, Gui, I do believe you have your own set of minority games you'd like to share with us.
Yeah. Well, I guess I have a couple of them, but I can talk about one of them that I personally played. I don't know if anyone else did, but yeah. It's an indie game. It's called RiME, with a lowercase I. Don't ask.
Oh, it's taking a cue from Knights, I see.
I heard about that game. I haven't actually done the try yet.
And Nier.
All right.
Yeah.
I hadn't actually heard of it yet, but please tell me more.
Okay, so it's kind of it's like one of those puzzle adventure games, but it's more emphasized on the puzzles, and you take on the role of this little boy who's washed up on the shores of an island, and he's kind of forced to figure out the puzzles on it with the help of a fox guide, a little fox guide, and he can activate certain.
Foxy.
He can activate certain bits of the puzzle by shouting at statues, and it kind of like.
Hey, wake up!
No. Actually, I imagine more to go.
That works too.
But yeah, so yeah, it's set in this bright fantasy world at first, but then the more you play through the puzzles, the more you realize it's not quite as bright as you think it is. Like it starts to. I'm not going to spoil a lot of it because, you have to play through to the end to understand the whole context behind it, but. I guess the only thing I will say is that it explores the 5 stages of grief. That's all I'll say.
Oh boy!
But the art style, the art style is like it's like a soft, cel shaded, simplistic, and just gorgeous to look at. It plays really well on the PS4, and I've heard it it doesn't play well on the Switch, so I would avoid that.
Yeah, that's kind of the reason why I haven't given the game a shot myself, because I was really banking on the Switch port being good enough. But from what I've seen from Arlo, it's ugly.
Yeah, play it on the PS4. It's totally worth it, and it's it's one of those short games, but it's well worth it.
Yeah, and I also remember that the PC version isn't that good either. But guess what? That one supported with the Nouveau.
So that means I got it for free somehow. But I'm not going to say how. But anywho.
Oh dear, Nouveau.
Was it a guest? Was it a gift? Was it something else? Who knows your heart? So, I guess that's it for RiME. Trying to think of another game to talk about. Seely, you said you had a minority game or something to mention while you're playing Breath of the Wild.
Put that down. We'll talk about it later.
This is a bad time.
No, it's fine. Anyway, actually, I never personally played the game myself, but I looked more into the lore. I'm talking about Five Nights at Freddy's Pizzeria Simulator.
Oh yeah,
that game.
Yeah, that was actually a pretty cool game, actually.
Hype, you know where the exit is.
Yeah, don't judge it before you really get into it.
No, I'm just saying not on his behalf because he doesn't give two sticks about the FNAF series.
Anyway, so go ahead.
They say, you know what, Scott Cawthon, or however you pronounce it, said...
Cawthon.
Thank you. Cawthon. Thank you. I think he confirmed that it's not canonically Five Nights at Freddy's 6.
Nope.
But it sounds like it sounds like he tied some loose ends of the lore, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, that's what I heard. And by the way, throughout all of this discussion that she's going to be doing for as long as it lasts, bear in mind, this game is free.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, if I remember correctly, it was originally going to be a FNAF 6, but then Scott Cawthon himself just felt, you know what, I really should I should probably take a break on these. I'll just make it its own freeware type of game, make it a pizzeria simulator.
Or so it seems. Yeah, because but that is the big hook, is that it's just a front. There is more. If you've learned
anything from any of the Five Nights at Freddy's games, it's never, ever what it first appears to be. There's always so much more to it.
Oh yeah, if you want a pure example of that, look up Doki Doki Literature Club.
Or look up Frog Fractions.
Actually, I was thinking, Logan, do you want to talk about Doki Doki later?
No.
No? Okay.
It's not really... Doki is a horror game, and most likely it's tied into another game that'll be coming out maybe this year or 2019. That's a psychological horror game. That's all you really gotta know.
Alright, well, with that said, actually, he won't be talking about that, but there is something that both he and I could talk about. Snake Pass.
Oh, yes.
That's a weird sound I just made out of my mouth. Snake Pass.
What? What did you say?
That's a weird sound I just made out of my mouth just then.
Be careful, be careful, Seely. That's a noise you might be making in your future later.
Shush.
Oh, God.
Shut up! Shut the fuck up!
Love you too, Jordy. Or Seely. Fuck. What am I saying?
Freudian slip. I got him.
God damn it! I've been fun-doodled. Anyway, sorry.
So yeah, Snake Pass. This is a indie game made by, I don't freaking remember the name.
Sumo Digital, the same people that made the Sonic and All Stars Racing series.
Wow. Okay.
Wow, what a jump.
So...
And it's a funny thing about it, too, because when you look at Snake Pass, it doesn't feel like anything they've made before. In fact, it feels like you'd swear it was something that Rare made.
Yeah, which, speaking of, the guy who did the great soundtrack was David Wise.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, David Wise, for making such a nice soundtrack.
Which, having come off of Tropical Freeze, I definitely heard the influences, and might I add, he did quite a good job with it. It's a game, it's like a 3D puzzle platformer that I was introduced by James and ended up surpassing him in playing through all of it, because it actually it's a very chill game. It actually does such a really good job of making you feel like a snake with its movements. Like, you can't just go straight, you cannot just make a beeline for things. You do have to, like, make a slithering motion with your character to get the most speed, and, like, you get into this rhythm, and it's really cool. The coiling mechanics, it's simple to learn, hard to master.
Yeah, pretty much. Especially if you want to go for everything, like all of the the blue droplets and the coins. Yeah, like this game doesn't pull any punches, though that also makes sense considering you don't have any arms.
Ha.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love the game. It's available on Switch, Steam, anything. Very good. Just deceptively hard. Don't expect an easy game. But
and also, I do believe the developers themselves have expressed interest in a sequel.
And the ending definitely leads into one, and I'd be more than happy to play it. Any other thoughts on that, James?
Not really, except I wouldn't have any complaints of controlling my noodle again for a second time.
Oh, God.
That's what she said.
Moving on.
Okay, anyway.
Hype, do you have any Minority games?
Huh?
Do you have any... I woke you up. Do you have any
Good
other
morning,
Minority games? Do you have any Minority games that you played that you don't think we played?
Sorry, just don't mind my mumbling. I'm talking to myself.
Okay, that's fair. But you know what? Going back on the whole noodle doesn't have any arms business, I do know of two characters that have arms!
Oh. Yes, you're right. Cuphead and Mugman, both characters.
No, that's for later. Wow. No, we're actually talking about the actual ARMS, the fighting game that Nintendo released back in June.
By the way, I love how you put you and Logan on the ARMS here, but not me, despite the fact that I'm the one who showed Logan.
I forgot. I'm sorry.
So join us
for those wondering, yes, we did compile a list just in case.
Yep. So go ahead. Then let's talk about it. So
alrighty then.
A fighting game that I'm just gonna real quick give my thought on is that ARMS is a fighting game that I never thought I'd like because I usually don't like fighting games.
Yeah,
Lollipop.
Until Lollipop, it was more like a case where you could even tell from our old global test punch look at. I mean, he was interested, but not enough to really get the game for himself. Then all of a sudden, that buxom clown came to the fray, and it really tickled his interest.
It gave me the curiosity to play because not only that, but just her playstyle did look like something I would like, which is more defensive, and I'm cool with that. But then it was like I needed a reason to get my feet wet before I tried the game.
That's fair.
And after trying it, because I experienced it late. I experienced it earlier this year with Pokken. I don't like fighting games because of how super competitive and like the meta and all the combos. I could never do that. ARMS is much simpler than that.
Oh yeah, like it's essentially Rock'em Sock'em Robots to the nth degree. And honestly, I mean, I know it's one of those, it's an acquired taste kind of thing, but it's a really fun, colorful kind of excuse me. Fuck, you lost my train of thought. Thanks,
game. It's a very good fighting game, and honestly, if they want to create more, if they want to make it a more official like IP like Splatoon, I would love to see more of this world.
Me too.
We have a manga coming out soon, I know, but
slash comic. But honestly, like it's sad we bring up ARMS though, because I just remembered that it was true that they unfortunately are not adding any new characters or stages or whatever into the game for now anyway. Like as far as I'm concerned, the most they're gonna do is just keep on making more party crashes.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, I feel like for what it accomplished, it did very well. Matt, your thoughts on it?
I love ARMS. I think it is a great game. It's not in my top 10 favorite, but it is a very good game. It's a lot of fun. Really, yeah, I really like it. Also, yes, Lollipop is my main, so.
There you go.
Honestly, it's been a while since I last played the game, like, fully, but I will say, like, I mean, I still like as far as my own mains, I usually just stick to the old reliable Spring Man.
That works.
Huh.
So,
excuse me.
let's look at...
if I can...
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay, just to remind people that I'm alive, I will say one thing about ARMS. It's a game that I really do want to like, because aesthetically, I think it looks like a really fun, colorful game. The cast of characters is definitely striking, in my opinion. Like, just in terms of aesthetics and from what little I can gain personality, even though it's only just recently where they decided, hey, maybe we should actually try to have a lore here. But it's a game where I kind of want to get into just based on like the presentation and the story. But then you get to the gameplay and then you realize that it's pretty devil damn annoying.
Well, in this commentator's opinion, it is that way. But I don't know. I still have fun with ARMS. But then again, I'm kind of one that can sort of get used to it. That's all.
I'm just I think I can get into it. But like one thing that's like, for instance, to compare it, and it's not, unfortunately, it's not on our list mainly because it really was too similar to the first one to bear a lot of mention, but it's still a game I enjoy. Unlike Splatoon 2, which, as it's already been confirmed, is already still expecting like another year and a half of big updates and another year of Splatfests. Like, that helps drive and that helps increase the longevity of the game. But if they're just going to keep doing ARMS fests, I don't think there's going to be a whole lot to keep people attached to ARMS as long as, say, Splatoon.
Probably
So I'm
not.
hoping they can find something or whatever, but I suppose that. And if you and Nintendo, if you're listening, if you can make some updates to the multiplayer, that'd be really cool. Like, make it so that we can make it so that I could host, make it so that I can host a room, and then we all go into multiplayer, like online multiplayer together.
Like in
Yeah.
Mario Kart.
Yeah, as opposed to like a private match. That'd be awesome.
Also,
That'd be nice.
Also, yeah. Also, by the way, I just realized the thing I could do. I'll put in a soundtrack for each time.
Oh,
like,
sure.
In the background.
Oh,
for
yeah,
each
like music
time
from the
we-
game.
Yeah.
Makes
Yeah,
sense.
from each
just
game.
Just don't have it blurred
Yeah,
too loud
good
that,
idea.
the audience can't hear
Yeah.
us.
No, of course.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
just
of course.
going to be very low. It's just going to be very low. Speaking of music, I'm going to talk about my personal favorite game.
Okay.
Okay. Okay,
Yep.
take it away, Matt.
Here comes his minority game.
Yep. My personal favorite game of 2017 was Persona 5. However, it's not my top game of 2017, and I'll explain what I mean later.
Okay.
But thing is, I'm a huge Persona fan. Persona 4 Golden is my favorite game of all time, and Persona 5 is amazing, but I prefer Golden just slightly above it. Even though I will say Persona 5 is the better game. It's better, but it's not my favorite.
I can get that. I can
But-
understand that bit.
But yeah, Persona 5, I have been waiting for this game since 2012, when it was first announced.
Yep.
And I was just clamoring every year. They kept on pushing it back, and I was like, "You motherfuckers, stop pushing it back!" And,
Now you know how us Cuphead fans feel.
Ha.
yeah, but the game, like I didn't get into Persona until Persona 4 Golden, and I knew the series by reputation, and I played Golden, and literally right after Golden came out, they announced Persona 5, and I was like, oh hey, that's interesting. And Persona 5 is the most stylish game I have ever played. Like, it is super stylish. I don't know how else to explain it.
And,
Like,
and don't you worry about it being style over substance. This is a Shin Megami Tensei game. They got
Oh, yeah,
hours
no,
of
this
hours of...
this is style and substance.
Yeah.
Each game has its own style, but this one has the most personality with its style, especially with the HUD, or heads-up display. Because in the previous Persona games, like in Persona 3, it was just like a wheel that looked like a revolver, and then in Persona 4 it was just a list. But this one, it's like you select certain buttons to do a certain action. Like you press the instead of just moving an arrow up and down and then pressing X, you press certain buttons. But yeah, but
Actually, if I can mention real quick, the way you make it sound, that immediately reminds me of Super Mario RPG with how its battle
It's
system was
very-
handled.
it's kind of like that. It kind of has it like that. It's kind of like that.
Me?
But the thing about the Persona series, yeah, this game just has one of the best stories in gaming, in my opinion, and some of the best characters. The series just has great characters. And even though Persona 4 I like more, Persona 5 does have my personal favorite character in the franchise now, mainly because of personal reasons.
Okay.
Like, with the fact that her problems and
They reflect.
yeah, they reflect my real life problems. Her problems in the game really reflect my real life problems. By the way, it's Makoto, if you guys are wondering. Makoto Nijima. Great character, not only because she's a fucking badass with a bike persona, a freaking motorcycle persona, but yeah. But the
Whatever you guys do, don't look up Matt's DeviantArt account.
fuck,
Don't
You-
be pulling those moves.
fuck
Isn't
you.
Makoto the name of a Street Fighter character?
Yes.
Actually, yeah, it is. Not to
It's
mention that.
a very common Japanese name.
Yes.
Heck, there's another character in the Persona franchise named Makoto, but
yeah, the characters.
I absolutely love all the characters and the game. It's just, it's amazing. It is amazing, but I will say it's not for everybody. Because each Persona game takes at least 80 hours on the first playthrough, and you are required to do more than one playthrough to get the full experience.
That's fair.
Yeah.
But it is still a brilliant
JRPG.
game. Yeah, brilliant JRPG is my personal favorite game of the year. Not mainly because of the Persona bias, but because everything is just... It just worked for me. Everything was just perfect to me.
Yeah, I have been hearing a lot of clamorings for Persona 5 right down the... I think this is like the highest selling in the franchise now.
I mean,
Yes, it is. A lot of people admit. A lot of people, though Golden was really good, and a lot of people loved that. It was still a very niche game, and it is a little harder to get into. One thing is that Persona 5 has a faster intro. Each Persona game is slow to build up the actual plot, but Persona 5's is the fastest. Persona 4 is the longest. I will.
It's like
I've heard the horror stories.
It takes at least 2 hours to get to the actual gameplay.
And another thing against Golden, unfortunately, is that it's on the Vita.
Yeah, but even then, I still love Golden. It's still my
That's not against the game itself. It's just the fact that it's on a system that almost no one owns now.
Yeah,
can you play Vita games on the PS3, like do a connectivity feature or something?
Unfortunately, no.
No.
That would have been nice, honestly.
But yeah, Persona 5, brilliant game, amazing. It's already my 3rd favorite game of all time now because of just how it's just perfect to me. It is a brilliant game, and I absolutely love it. And if you want to jump into the Persona franchise but don't know which one to start with, definitely start with this one.
I'll definitely consider it.
The most I can offer is I know Donkey at one point was doing reviews, and he was talking about how it is important to know like what someone likes and what someone dislikes before looking at a review of theirs. Like if someone hates platformers, maybe don't take their review of Odyssey to heart.
Right.
But meanwhile, he's like, so you should know that as someone who hates JRPGs, if I say Persona 5 is a good game, you must be doing something pretty freaking right.
Yeah.
Way to go,
Yeah,
Donkey.
no, there are a lot of people out there that, okay, even Zero Punctuation, even Yahtzee from Zero Punctuation, he hates JRPGs. He admits it's his least favorite genre next to FPSs. He absolutely hates JRPGs, but even with Persona 5, he loved that game. He thought it was a fantastic game.
That's
Alrighty.
good. Oh yeah, and by the way, Atlas, Bro to Bros, put this game on the Switch.
Yes! Please, because I want to take Persona 5 on the go. I'm able to take Persona 4 Golden on the go. I want to take Persona 5 on the go.
And that upcoming remake of Catherine that you're doing.
Oh yeah. By the way, you know they're not. By the way, you know they're not going to put it on the Switch until they can get Nintendo to agree that they won't allow you to capture 30 seconds of footage past day 254.
Hey! To be fair, there are some games on the Switch that just don't allow that 30 seconds of footage.
Oh,
That
true.
is true. Only certain games that they allow, mostly Nintendo-based stuff. But anyway, I think that's about all we can really say about Persona 5. And actually, looking at the list now, I do realize that most of them are my picks, so I may as well get that started before we move on to anything else.
Please.
So I think my pick next will be let's go with Super Bomberman R, one of two Switch games at launch that was actually worth getting.
Okay, did anyone else here play it, or
Most
just
people
James?
say.
Just me.
I played it. I have
Okay.
played it.
Hype, did you try it out at all?
I'm not too into Bomberman. Like, I respect the franchise's existence, but I never really had like a massive thirst to play it, if that makes sense.
Aw, you heathen. But anyway, Super Bomberman R. Let's be fair here. When we watched that presentation back in January, it came up out of nowhere during that whole little sizzle reel they did at the very end. I'm like, wait, what? Whoa, Bomberman's coming back?
Konami
fuck.
cares.
Oh my god, they do care. And it's
not really. I doubt they care, but they
well, to
maybe.
be fair, given all the updates that the game got after its release, it's got to say something. But anyway,
That is true. I take back my word on I said in one previous video about that. I take back my word. But even then, they made Metal Gear Survive, and I still refuse to buy any more games from them.
Up until their next
Yeah.
Bomberman game, but anyway. Going back to Super Bomberman R real quick. Like, I got it at launch along with Breath of the Wild because, you know, I was a pretty big Bomberman sucker back in the day, and I figured I gotta represent. But anyway, I will say this
Would
much.
you say that the game is the bomb?
It was for a time. But anyway, I will say this much. I do think it was a little overpriced at launch. Like, given how little they had, like, it felt kind of ridiculous, especially when you compare it to how freaking big the other game, Breath of the Wild, was. But I will say, it had a great art style. I hope they continue with this art style with any future games that they do, along with the various bits of comedy that it has sprinkled all throughout. Like, come on, how can you not love the sheer antics of White Bomber and his obnoxious little siblings?
Yep.
I still love Green. And
Green's an adorable asshole.
Green is a little shit.
Light blue / teal is cool.
Yeah, and then there's Blue Bomber, who's my spirit animal.
Yeah,
But,
he really is.
But yeah,
Just give me 24 more hours. But anyway, sorry. I will say it provided the Bomberman experience that I was hoping for, even though I do think at times it was a little BS. Especially with especially with some of the bosses. Pretty Bomber comes to mind. Fuck her boss fight. But otherwise, I mean, I played through it all. I played through it all. I enjoyed it, even though despite all those problems. And if it were for the fact it was priced at $50 and the multiplayer and the online for the multiplayer mode wasn't such crap, I think it would have been well worth it. But I will say, I appreciate that they actually did. They have been supporting it, like, even to this day. Like, they actually released a bonus 7th world like a few months ago, and they've released all of these other Bomberman characters you could buy from the shop that are based off of Konami franchises like Castlevania, Zone of the Enders,
Which
Radius
I am
of all things.
amazed that.
I remember Zone of the Enders.
I am amazed that Konami remembers Zone of the Enders exists.
Yeah, like they have the
Okay,
JPT and
I-
Anubis on there.
I will say, okay, I am still going to keep my no buying Konami games until they release another Zone of the Enders.
I think
Okay.
the one that got me the most was the Goemon Bomber. Like, I didn't even realize they remembered that franchise existed.
And I always appreciate a good cute thick viper.
Yeah, Vic Viper's a bomber is so uncanny looking. I'm not gonna lie.
But yeah, that was Super Bomberman R. That was good.
Yeah. Honestly, I mean, I would say nowadays it's worth getting just because they have added a lot since then. I do think they still need to fix the online, and hopefully with the online program that Nintendo's doing, it'll hopefully help it in a way. But otherwise, just a good Bomberman game. But I would say get it at a price drop.
Okay, like I think 40 or 30. I think 40 is good.
$30 at the least.
I say 30.
But on that note,
Yeah, keep
Logan,
going
why
on
don't you go ahead?
here all day.
Sorry, Logan, you go next.
Okay, so my next game is one that not a lot of people played. It kind of snuck under the radar, I think, for a lot of people, but I think it's definitely worth a good play. It is called the Sexy Brutale. It is a game developed by people who I always keep forgetting their names because I never bothered to do my research. Because I'm a game journalist. No, it's a game called it's called the Sexy.
He's still waiting for that Kotaku job.
It's the Sexy Brutale. It's a mystery kind of game. It's very interesting. It reminds me a lot of elements of Ghost Trick. If you ever played that DS game that was later ported to the iOS and stuff, the idea is that you are trying to prevent murders from happening. Only the fun part about this is you're not trying to figure out where they got killed. You're not trying to figure out who killed them. The main thing of what you're trying to figure out is how they were killed. And once you figure out how they were killed, the whole point is you have to try and manipulate the world, but due to supernatural elements that I won't begin to explain because I feel like the game really needs to be played and experienced to the fullest to get the story. Like, I don't want to spoil a lot about the story. But you're wandering around this enormous, like, lavish mansion / casino, titularly called the Sexy Brutale, trying to save all the guests from being killed by the evil staff.
By the way, just going to point out, the game is developed by former Blizzard employees. The company is called Tequila Works, and they also did RiME.
Interesting.
Oh,
So they did,
yeah,
okay.
that's right.
Huh.
Yep.
Now I gotta try RiME then. But anyway, so
What a coinkydink.
So the music is great. It's cool. It's like it's almost like Groundhog Day syndrome in that you're reliving the same 12 hours over and over again. Of course, in sped up time because video game. But It's like everyone. It's like every single character has a set pattern, and the whole strategy of the game is due to again the supernatural elements I won't explain. You yourself can never physically be in the same room as anyone else. So the minute you are in a same room that is shared by an NPC, you are like threatened to leave. Otherwise, you could take damage. So the whole point of the puzzle is to keep revisiting the same 12 hours to affect things outside of the room of these characters, so that when they actually get like trying to be the most separate. I don't know how to put it. It's like indirect. You're trying to be an indirect good for everyone to save them without you can't interfere. And again, the puzzle aspect to it, it's really good. Unfortunately, this does mean that replayability is kind of shot because it is a puzzle game. But the story about how it deals with things like it deals with, I guess also similar to RiME, it deals with reactions to grief and loss. It deals with themes like that, to addiction, to... It's a great... I think it is personally a very well stylized game and well worth... Let me see how much it is on Steam, because it plays very well on Steam, and it is actually now on the Switch, if not available on Switch right now.
It is.
It's not. It's not.
Wait, I thought it was out now on the Switch.
No, it's not. I just checked.
But when's it coming out on the Switch?
Let me check.
Because I do know it was confirmed to be on the Switch. I just don't remember when it's coming out.
Nintendo Switch was
never mind.
It was released in December.
I knew.
But
it.
let me say, I don't know how much is on. Let me say, I don't know how much is on
the.
I don't know how much is on the Switch, but on Steam it is only $20. And let me
Same
say,
on the Switch.
And let me say, I think it is easily one of the best $20 you could spend on a game. There is a lot to it.
I would say so.
And original music, great singing. There's a song that's sung. It's a very great game. And if you're a fan of those kind of games, I'd very much recommend giving it a shot. Now, I'm going to actually I'm actually going to segue into a game because I know this is a game that Celie can talk about as well. I want to make sure she gets a chance to talk as well, and I need to find something for Hype to talk about. I swear to God. Because she actually played it. So James, let's talk about Snipperclips.
Oh boy, Snipperclips!
I completely forgot about Snipperclips.
Actually, now that I think about it, Snipperclips should have just been a majority game, but we'll do it here because we already talked about it. Snipperclips was a game I want to say was released either the same day or sometime after the Switch's launch, and they touted it as a cooperative style experience where you and your friend play as two cute little anthropomorphic pieces of paper that could snip themselves to any sort of shape to meet any sort of situation.
And I think historically this was the first game you ever showed me on the Switch to look at.
Yes, it was. It was the first game I showed both you and Hype through one of our look-ats, and I'm still astonished I was able to record all that through the settings given to me on my Elgato. But with that said, I mean, we definitely had our fun with it and all the SpongeBob jokes we made in the process. And by the way, thank you again, Hype, for that amazing intro.
That was so fun.
I'm honestly surprised you enjoyed it as much as you did. Not gonna lie.
It was fun.
It was worth it. I mean, given the time frame.
But so recently when Celie and I when Celie visited me, I should have brought to play more of it with you that one trip, but there was so much to do.
I had the demo, but that was about it. I haven't actually.
And I had it still installed on my Switch. We could have done that, and they have the new DLC that expanded it. I think recently.
Mm-hmm. As a matter of fact, with that DLC, they also the developers have also released a physical version of the game called Snipperclips Plus, which pretty much has everything from the get-go.
Okay.
Which I am giving away in a contest.
Wow.
Oh, what do you know? I forgot that was still a thing.
We'll talk that later.
Yeah, that's right.
People did.
But any hooser, Gui forgot about it. She's the one who entered. Any hooser.
I haven't entered.
Oh, I thought you did enter.
No.
It was
It's
Monica.
not entered yet.
That was Monica. That was right. That was Monica.
Monica has entered, and I not going to lie, I think she's going to win.
Potentially, but there are 3 winners. Anyway, moving on. Very adorable game and very fun to tinker around with and come up with unique solutions. And Celia and I had a blast.
I liked it too, though. That being said, I actually do need to get back and finish up the second of the 2 DLC chapters that they released.
Celia and I gotta continue beating the game.
Yeah. I mean, I will say, the only downside to Snipperclips, from what I remember, is
The
that...
end of March, hon. The end of March.
Oh, in due time. But yeah, the only thing I will say is that with the original version of Snipperclips, when there was only 3 chapters in the game, and I will admit that is a bit on the short side, even if it is $20 overall. But I will say, with the additional $10 and 2 additional chapters, I think it kind of made up for it.
Yeah, I think there is a full game, and that's why they now release the physical package now. But yeah, I think it's a very cute game. Definitely worth if you have a friend you want to play the game with, which you can with both Joy-Cons. I think it's well worth the pick. And in the spirit of wanting to move things along, because it's already been an hour. I think.
Yeah,
Oh my god, it has?
Oh, it's getting close to an hour. But actually,
well,
now that I
50
think
minutes
about it,
now, so.
anyway, I'll go ahead and take over for this next bit. One other game that actually was released not too long after the Switch's release was Blaster Master Zero, which is a spiritual remake of a sort of the very original NES Blaster Master created by Inti Creates. And now, granted, I will admit it's kind of a cheat because it was also released on the 3DS, but I got a Switch version and I have the proof, and I have the recorded proof. So suck it. So Blaster Master Zero. The best way I can explain it is that you are a boy who has to find a tailed frog in an underground world with a bitching tank.
Froggy?
I wish.
No!
If there's ever any Blaster Master Zero mods, I would love to see that.
Okay.
But
That'd be awesome.
that being said, for those that have never played the original Blaster Master games, I would definitely say start with Zero because, for one thing, it's a lot more accessible. Two, it has more appealing artwork. And secondly, as of this recording, all of the DLC for the game has been released, along with several other playable characters. There's not just that normie kid, Jason Frednick. Frednick, I think was his name? Mm-hmm. Oh, no, Fred was the name of the frog, my bad. Jason something, I'm just going to leave it at that. But aside from him, they also released Gunvolt from the Azure Striker Gunvolt series. God damn it, guys. There's Gunvolt, there's...
the girl from Galgun, I thought.
The girl from Galgun, Ekro, the angel, from Galgun Double Piece. They released Shantae, of all people, which was amazing to me. And, say it with me now, Shovel Knight!
Oh!
Oh, yes, see, those were the characters they released, and honestly, I'm kind of surprised they were able to get those last two, but I think it makes for a very nice experience. And, I mean, even without them, I still think it's a very solid $10 game. Like,
Seriously.
you have 8 to 9 worlds at your disposal. You have pretty neat controls, both in the 2D overworld and the top-down dungeons of the game. Like,
And aren't the new characters like full-on campaigns?
yes, they are full-on campaigns. You can pretty much go through the entirety with them. I mean, they don't have the story to follow, but at the same time, they can still go through pretty much everything, and they have their own little perks compared to Jason, who, heroic as he may be, cannot survive a 5-foot fucking drop.
Nope. But no, they all have their own. They have varied move sets, play styles. It's really cool to see like how much they did with one little game, and again, like a lot.
Yeah, and I will say, like, Inti Creates, as far as I'm concerned, it may not have been much compared to every other game out there, but they're very proud of their sales, and if anything, it goes to show that they were willing to make more games like these, and I'd be down for it. Mm-hmm. But on that note, that's about all I really have to say on Blaster Master Zero, and if you guys haven't got it on the Switch, get it. It's fun. It's super fun.
Is it available on any other system or only Switch?
Switch and the 3DS, but that's it.
Right.
But on that note, why don't we move on to a rather meaty one that I'm sure Gui, Logan, and Matt are definitely going to talk their ears out on.
Oh,
if you
yes.
would.
Oh,
I will
yes.
talk at least half an ear.
Wait, Gui, let us have you introduce
Yeah, I
it.
was gonna say this really be Gui because she's the one who's put I think the most time out of all of us.
Yes, it would.
Yeah.
It would be Gui's game. So take it away.
So, yeah, the one we're going to talk about next is a game by Guerrilla Games called Horizon Zero Dawn.
Yay!
Oh boy! If this is the minority game, then you can only imagine how we're going to talk with what we put in the majority.
Yep, but continue.
Oh,
Yeah. So yeah, it's an open world kind of RPG shooter game, and it's not the kind of shooter game you would think of, because you play as this tribeswoman named Aloy, because Alloy.
Voiced by
yeah.
Ashley Birch.
Oh,
Yeah.
really? Huh.
And she's having to survive in a world that is dominated by machines.
It's post-apocalyptic.
Yeah, it's very post-apocalyptic. It takes place about 1,000 years in the future after humanity has been all but destroyed, like because of a story spoiler.
Okay.
And so all the humans have been reduced to rudimentary tribes and like above. I guess what would you say?
Hunter-gatherer kind of culture?
Hunter-gatherers mostly. Some of them live in a large, kind of simplistic city,
It's kind of
Yeah.
I wouldn't say Stone Age, but it feels like it's kind of gone to like some sort of Bronze Age kind of Bronze. It's like it's definitely humanity has regressed.
Yeah. Actually,
And-
you know what? If I can actually comment real quick, like the entire game as you're talking about, it immediately reminds me of a game that Ninja Theory made way back in like the early 2000s or 2010s called Enslaved Odyssey to the West. It kind of reminds me of that, actually.
I remember that one.
I guess so. I have no idea what
But
that game is.
it's an open world RPG with crafting elements. Some of the gameplay reminds me of the Tomb Raider reboot with the emphasis on archery and stuff. You can get the weapons, which is so freaking awesome. You just pull out a freaking machine. But anyway, it has elements of that. Fighting some of the monsters almost feels like freaking Monster Hunter to me, because there's trapping.
It's Monster Hunter Robo Edition.
Pretty much.
But the world, the creatures, their behavior, the hunt. It's a very immersive experience.
Oh yeah, because like most of the machines act like animals. They look like animals, and they consume bits of the earth like animals. But
And they're
there's
smart
a different,
like animals can be.
and there's a reason that they all do that, and it's all spoilers.
Okay.
Because if you haven't played the whole game through, yeah, the reason the world operates the way it does, as you see it, it's very involved, and it's kind of it's kind of a bombshell.
I only just started so I'm like barely out of the mother's heart area of the game. I'm very early in, but there's a lot to it, and the plot keeps me guessing. The mechanics of being able to at some points control monsters, to be able to view their path. It's all the tech is really cool. Matt, your experiences with it so far?
I played it. I think it is a great game. Pretty fantastic. I absolutely loved it. There are just games I thought were better. It's a testament of how good the year was when this game isn't even on my top 10, and yet I still loved it.
I will say, definitely something that I give this game a lot of credit for, and you're going to see it'll pop up in our majority list in a bit. This game had the confidence to release only a few days after the Switch and Breath of the Wild launched.
Before.
Just a few days before, which thank God it was before, because if it was after, we'd never hear about this game again.
Yeah.
But
I'm pretty sure it was
would have been
coincidence.
massacred.
But it did it, and it still did so well. It should be a testament to how strong the game is to be able to hold its own against that.
Yeah.
But
Honestly, if it weren't for the Switch, then Sony may as well have decimated with that game.
Yeah.
Probably.
And I
There's
would
a lot
say,
to it in DLC, and
oh yeah, there is DLC called the Frozen Wilds, which expands a little bit on the lore. It's got new machines, a new plot line that expands on the old one. I haven't played through that just yet because I'm going through New Game Plus.
okay.
And I have in order for it to make sense, I kind of have to get to a certain point later in the game, later in the story. Yeah, I would say there are very few flaws with this game that are noticeable, but you get used to them and you can kind of glance over them after a while. Like facial animations can kind of get a little weird at times.
And that's just because they're doing that procedural, the generated. Right? They do because
Yeah.
it saves time. Ratchet and Clank did it too at times. Yeah, it's like the plug it into a computer and let it handle the lip syncing and stuff.
Well, kind of.
The Arkham games
Actually,
kind of do that.
actually,
Some
no,
cutscene.
not really.
For some interactions, like when you're talking to the store people and stuff, that's where you see the randomized animations. When you're in full cutscenes, that's they're in control of. But when she's talking to store people and the camera just pans between the two of them, that's when it's procedurally generated, I think.
Yeah. Well, no. Well, in Horizon, it's more like they have sets of pre-built animations that they can pick up and combine on any which way they need to, depending on the emotion or the situation. That's why
I
some
eat the
animations
Telltale
look
method.
similar to each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, Telltale does the same thing,
Oh yeah, Telltale's rife with that shit.
But
and it saves time.
Yeah, but that being said, the game's very good.
No.
The world is great.
Sorry, no, continue.
If not for another game that we'll talk about definitely more later, it easily would have won my slot for best open world RPG of this year.
Yeah.
I'll take your word for it, because I will admit, out of all of us here, I mean, it's mainly because of that other game. I didn't really give this one too much of a thought, but I do commend it for what it was able to do, and I'll just leave it at that.
I'll say that
Yeah,
whenever
I highly recommend it.
Yeah, I would say once you've grown tired of that other game, if that's possible, but once you've wanted to like try something else, I think it's a good game to give it a shot.
Fair enough. It probably gives me an excuse to dust off my PS4. But
Yeah.
Anyway.
By the way, I actually just thought of a couple of games that I definitely want to mention.
Can we say? Could you say that for the honorable mention section?
Unfortunately, no, because one of them is a big one.
Well, okay, you know what? How about this? Let me take care of this one game on my minority list first, and then we'll end it off with one of the games you want to show up.
Okay.
We do want to keep going because we're almost we're not even at the meat of this video, by the way, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay.
I'm just trying
Anyway,
to keep going.
I'll go ahead and say my thing, and I'll let Matt say his thing, and then, actually, if I can be honest, we might want to split these audios into two, just to save on time.
That's probably a good idea.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, that's actually...
Last time I talked about an NT Creates game, this time I'm going to talk about another one. And honestly, for any Mega Man aficionados out there, this is to you. This is Mighty Gunvolt Burst for the Nintendo Switch and the Nintendo 3DS. Or as some would like to put it, Mighty Number 9 done right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Boy howdy, NT Creates was busy this year.
Yes, seriously, and they're not even fucking done. Think of all the games they're releasing this year on the Switch alone. Galgun 2, that Dragon game that they talked about earlier, as well as actually, yeah, those are the only two I can think of off the top of my head. But if there's any more, I'll talk about them.
Think of all the games they're releasing, like this one, and
to be fair, they've already released. To be fair, they released a lot of others last year alone. But anyway, I'm terribly sorry, getting ahead of myself. Mighty Gunvolt Burst. Again, it's pretty much NT Creates' other attempt at making a Mega Man game, whereas they've already done the likes of Zor Striker, Gunvolt, and 9 and 9 and 10, and well, for better or worse, Mighty Number 9 itself. That being said, where with Mighty Gunvolt Burst, it helps for one that it costs only $10 initially. But aside from that, it has a neat little customization system where you can pretty much customize your characters however you want them to play out, assuming you have the cost points to do so. Like, you could give them knockback resistance, you can give them giant freaking bullet shots, you can give them spiraling bullet shots, you could even give them a double jump in Gunvolt's case, or multiple dashes with Beck, and that's not even half the stuff you could do with this game. Wow. I mean, granted, one playthrough can last only like an hour or so, but there's actually a lot of replayability into this game that kind of surprises me, especially when you take into account like the additional DLC characters they've added onto it. Like, they've added a bunch,
which are full campaigns.
Yes, they are full campaigns. They each even have their cute little intros, like the fact that Copen from Gunvolt 2, he wants to one up his rival because he has his own awesome game, which is also called Mighty Gunvolt Burst. He's going to make his own better game with blackjacks and hookers.
Yes, silly. That is the motivation. Like, when you're playing that person's campaign, you're not like playing an actual venture. That's just they wanted to program their own game and make it better and say, yeah, I made a game too.
Yeah, which is funny because honestly, that's it's a parody game, so I can sort of understand why they would this way. I mean, it's not at all evident of the game that he represents, but I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm terribly sorry. Okay. But yeah, the game itself, you're pretty much going through a regular Mega Man-esque adventure. You're fighting down even though it's called Mighty Gunvolt Burst, you're literally fighting all of the mighty numbers from Mighty Number 9. Yep. Right down from Avi to Mac to all the other ones. I can't even remember their names off the top of my head.
Yeah, it's those bosses again.
And it's all done through 2D sprites. Like, unlike the Mighty Number 9, which was all 3D, this one's a 2D adventure, and I will say, like, this is something that NT Creates shines above most. Their 2D aspect. Like, it's very flashy. It's very at times it can feel a little cinematic even, but like
good bursts going.
Oh yeah, especially when you get the burst going, which I will say, the only downside is that the main characters themselves you get from the get-go, the burst system doesn't quite do much for them particularly. Like Beck and Gunvolt, I mean, it's very flashy and it feels very satisfying to do, but it doesn't really benefit them in a way, unlike the DLC characters, which as of now, I think they go for like $2 or $3 at most, but even then, they do add a lot of replayability to the game, and for anyone out there that wants a 2D Mega Man adventure up until the release of the actual next Mega Man adventure, Mega Man 11, I would wholeheartedly recommend getting this one. Like, it's very fun. It's very nice to look at. And I mean, heck, if it was able to make up to around 80,000 downloads, like, it's definitely got a following.
Yep.
And yeah, that's about all I really have to say on the matter. Go get it. It's fun. Go get it, Logan.
Okay.
Maybe later. But
Okay.
so now, Matt, you had one other game you want to mention from your list?
Yes, I have no idea why I forgot to put this in the minority, but the last game we'll talk about for the minority, what I think will be the last one, and I'll just say it through the way that the game refused to say it, but all the other ones in the series.
Oh,
so
I know what you're talking about.
If the game isn't going to do it, I will do it.
Oh God.
I know.
Resident Evil 7.
I almost forgot about that game.
I thought that came out in 2016 for some reason.
No, it came out
this year.
Yep,
Then-
it came out 2017.
My God, it's good.
Yeah,
Resident Evil 7, proof that Capcom can still make good games.
Yeah, no, I was so surprised because, like, when I saw Resident Evil 7 announced, I was actually excited for it, and I am glad that it lived up to it because it looked like it was returned to form, and it was. And the first-person view really helped it.
Without a doubt. I was actually going to say real quick, just chime in. Actually, we had very different reactions. You were like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. I was part of the group that was like, so they're just ripping off of PT because PT didn't work, so they want to do it themselves.
Everybody was pointing that out, and to be fair, I pointed that out too.
I'm fine because technically, like Silent Hills, which for the longest time was like one of the big competitors for Resident Evil in terms of survival horror. Like I remember those two kind of went hand in hand as much as like Mario and Sonic even at times. But like the fact that Konami decided to drop the ball, Capcom's like, shit, if you guys are gonna do it, we'll do it, and do what they did. Do it. Yes, but
yeah, the game is just great. It is fantastic.
The characters, the story, the arc, and as he's saying, the first person perspective. If you ever, from what I've been seeing reviews and whatnot, if you ever want to buy into the gimmick that is virtual reality, try Resident Evil 7 VR.
Alright. Literally, it is one of the few games I have actually done VR with, and it is worth it for every second in the VR.
It is scary in VR.
Yeah,
I can imagine.
It is scary in VR. It's really
It's
cool
almost as if
in
it's a
VR
Devil
as
Dame
well.
horror game.
Well, I mean, well, did it well because there were bad VR horror games. Don't even. Markiplier has shown me there are bad ones, but no, this one it looks brilliant still. Great visuals.
Yeah, it's great, just great game in general, and of course the best villains in the series since Wesker.
The Bakers.
Yeah,
Bakers.
I freaking love the Bakers.
Welcome to the family, son.
Welcome to the family, son.
It's just the characters; they're really deep, and I can't wait to see what they do with the series from here. Like this helped like rekindle it after 6 kind of like drained me.
Yeah, and even then there was DLC, and that was really good.
I need to watch that. No Hero or not Hero. I want to watch that.
Yeah, both the 2 side story DLCs and the
fun pack. I like to call it.
Yeah, just the fun pack. With those are absolutely fantastic and super fun. Like there's literally a roguelike one that is really freaking hard. And literally, they know that you're going to break this one box at the beginning, and the second you break it, it blows up in your face.
It's explosive. Yeah, it's awesome. But it's I mean, it captured what made the first Resident Evil so fun and so kind of quirky and unique in that it was trying to imitate B horror films.
Yeah.
And the other ones kind of started dipping away from that. They kind of just became Call of Duty, Gears of War, explosions.
Yeah.
This one kind of goes back to that route, and it really works.
Yeah, and also, the best thing, the title actually makes fucking sense here. Because the very first Resident Evil and this one are actually based in a fucking residence.
Yes.
Yep.
And
and a lot of people are going, why is it called Resident Evil? That's a stupid name if only the first one is based in a residence.
Because it was an evil resident house.
But the reason why the reason why it makes sense in Japan more is because in Japan it's called Biohazard, which
Wait,
makes
actually,
no
that
sense.
does-
Oh,
That
Yep,
does
that's
make
the
me
title.
that does make me curious about something. I might be thinking of a different game, but wasn't the subtitle for this one Biohazard?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
They-
it
they-
was.
Yes.
Then how's that-
In America, the
He's gonna
game
explain
is
it.
known as Resident Evil 7 Biohazard.
And
And
in
in
Japan-
Japan, it's known as Biohazard 7 Resident Evil.
They tied it together.
Never mind then.
makes sense.
So they want to. I guess in a sense, they also want to just unify the dang thing and just link it
Yeah,
up.
they finally decide, fuck it.
Screw all the different titles. It's just
I think it works.
if what it works, yeah, I think it's a cool concept because again, it is a biohazard you're dealing with, and it is a resident that is evil. But yeah, I'm surprised I forgot to mention it too. But yeah, great game, available on most systems except for Switch right now.
It needs to come to Switch. It
But,
needs to come to Switch.
I have heard that they're interested in making a Switch version. Just when they'll announce one or not remains to be seen.
If Doom can work well on Switch, I definitely think this can.
Yeah, if Doom can be on Switch and work amazing, then Resident Evil 7 can definitely.
And it does play well with the controller. It's great. Anyway, I think that's. I gotta myself. I'm sorry. I gotta be the authority. I gotta pull the plug for this. We're done with the minority
I
games
gotta drop the gavel.
because we're not even to the big ones yet. But
Yeah, we're
Yeah,
not.
let's go over to the big ends.
save on.
Boy, for the majority games.